All right, welcome back to the Out of Bounds podcast presented by FingerLakes1.com. Josh Durso and Nate Sharman here with you as we start the second half of October. Today we've got PGA Tour, LIV Golf, Fall Golf, and a brand new golf video game. Speaking of that Fall Golf, though, we finally talk about going out and doing it. We played a little Fall Golf last week. Better for some of us than for others of us, but it was a good day out there.
Yeah, I didn't hate the way you played. We played with the handicap system, and I was able to take you down there.
Yep.
So the handicap system is the great equalizer in golf, but more importantly than that, just had a great time out there with some friends, had some laughs. Can't really beat it. Expectations are low in the fall. Just go out and play and enjoy the nice weather. Got to play in a polo. Anytime you could just play in a polo in October, chalk that up as a win.
Yep, not a lot of wind. Wind is probably the one thing that I dislike most about fall golf.
Yes.
You get a breeze, and it's just not as warm. And as everybody who knows me knows, I don't like playing golf when it gets cool. And 60, 65 with a breeze starts to feel a lot like 45 to 50, depending on where that wind is coming from. But Blue Heron Hills up in Macedon here in the Finger Lakes, absolutely gorgeous golf course. Love that track. It was in great shape for fall standards, especially.
Oh, for sure.
Greens had been aerated probably about 2 or 3 weeks before.
You couldn't even really tell.
Couldn't even tell. Right. It was awesome. But yeah, great day to get out there, and hopefully we got some nice weather coming up this weekend. Maybe we're going to get out and play a couple more times before the dreaded snowflakes start to fly around.
Yeah, any of our local listeners, if you like your favorite course, drop it down low. Maybe we'll go play there. If we haven't already, I'm sure we have. We played a lot around here, but let us know some of your favorites if you're local.
Yeah, that's actually probably we always talk about it. The courses that you like to play in the fall versus the courses you like to play in the summer, in spring. I think that's interesting too, because there are courses that are better to play in the fall. Mm-hmm. Around here, Reservoir Creek for me. Let's get into some of the tour action from the last 2 weeks. Tom Kim, huge win at Shriners. Patrick Cantlay had one of the most explosive 70-second holes I guess you could ever have. Triple bogey, loses the tournament. As you said before we came on, it feels like that was an eternity ago now. Yep. Then we had this past weekend, Keegan Bradley getting the win over Ricky Fowler at the ZOZO. Fowler had the 54-hole lead, but shot even par on Sunday to finish one back. My question to you, I guess, out of those two, who benefits more from that recent win? Who do you think, like, moving forward in this new season?
Probably Tom Kim, just at the stage he is in his career.
Oh, yeah.
Catapulted off that really good President's Cup showing he had.
Yep.
He was able to kind of manipulate that into another win, and now we're in terms of 3-4 months, he's gotten 2 wins now on the PGA Tour. So the sky's the limit for Tom Kim. And I think you've said it a lot on prior podcasts. PGA Tour is doing a nice job of keeping him around and make sure to keep him happy too, because he is one of the future poster boys for the tour, in my opinion. He's not going anywhere. Yeah.
And also too, like, they are two different caliber golfers. I don't really have a lot of hesitation saying that. Keegan Bradley is kind of what I would consider the definition of a journeyman.
First win in 4 years. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while. He's always, you see his name around. He's a guy, because of how long he's been on tour, he's familiar. But he obviously isn't the caliber golfer that Tom Kim is, clearly.
Right, for sure.
Even at this early stage of Kim's career. Kim appears to be a generational talent. Now,
for sure.
Whether that pans out or not over the next few years, who knows? But I think that's kind of apparent between the two of those. LIV Golf. We've had some LIV action. Brooks Koepka finally got a win. Viewership numbers were not great. You just smirked. I mean, they were pretty horrible. Did that part surprise you? The viewership numbers?
I think so, a little bit, yeah. I think if you look back at our last podcast, we talked about what viewership numbers were going to be, and I was way off. You guys were a lot closer. I'm not sure which one of you was closer.
I mean, I think we were all like 100 to 200,000 average views off.
Yeah, I was probably even more than that. I think I had it in that 500 number. So, but it's just crazy. It's so like weird to watch for me. I'm just go and check in like every once in a while, every couple of days. I go look and I go watch like a hole or two.
Yeah.
And I just think it's kind of, I don't know if cringeworthy is the word. I don't know if gimmicky is the word.
Oh.
But it's just like it doesn't have a lot of flow to me.
Right.
Like it's sort of engaging to watch in terms of you're just watching a lot of golf. Well, that's fun to watch, and the courses are cool that they're playing on, but there just isn't, like, I know we always use that word exhibition around a lot, right? There's just not, at the end of the day, they're not really playing for anything. They're playing for money, but there's no sense of pride within your team. There is they fabricate some, but I just don't believe that deep down there really is like the sense of, I'm on the PGA Tour and I'm on this track for greatness. It's almost like we're just here, we're going to make a couple $1 million and we're going to go home.
Yeah, I think it's that the survival mode that the PGA Tour creates because of the system that exists versus the guarantee that LIV Golf brings into the equation. That's not to say that you can't see some really great golf or great golfers play good golf from time to time. But at the end of the day, the environment's different, the circumstances are different, and I think that is probably the biggest difference that week in and week out is going to have an impact on the product. Now, I thought the tweet that we had shown earlier, the original tweet, I should say, it summed up the entire situation perfectly because U.S. golf fans watch golf in terms of it being like a televised event. But what LIV has kind of proven, if you don't have a TV deal, other people in other parts of the world are not watching the way Americans watch golf.
Right.
So what's the answer then for LIV moving forward? I think it creates the only existential crisis that LIV could possibly have. They have all the money in the world. They don't care about making money or having a profitable business or anything along those lines. But if all of their tournaments that aren't held in the U.S. wind up garnering, 10 to 20, maybe 30,000 viewers on a on YouTube or a streaming platform per day, what are you even doing?
Right.
I mean, that at that point you start to like legitimately question what is this product? What are we even doing?
Right. And at the end of the day, people just aren't going to go to YouTube to watch it, I don't think. People are going to flip on the remote and maybe not necessarily watch it, quote unquote. They're going to read the paper or do whatever you do while you mindlessly scroll Twitter for me, because that's what I do when I watch TV a lot of times. They're just, going on YouTube. I mean, you have a smart TV. It's pretty easy to do, but it's just something that you're maybe not going to do. You're on going through your guide of things, and maybe won't jump to a different streaming platform like YouTube. You'll stay on that platform and jump between, pardon the interruption, on ESPN or the local news or something like that. Like, you're not going to just jump to that, I don't think. I haven't had that experience before either. I look on my phone and I watch it for a couple holes here and there.
Well, and then on top of that, how many people are I think people who have cable or cable subscribers are more likely to be passively putting something on the television just to have background noise.
I don't think anyone's putting on LIV passively. I guess that's my roundabout way of that point.
YouTube TV in general, or just a YouTube stream in general. Like, streaming platforms, there isn't that like ease of access like there is to traditional. You just click a button and it's just on.
Right.
It's interesting. I don't know if they come back. Obviously, they've got the Miami event coming up. If they get big numbers over that weekend, maybe everybody forgets about these last two international events that saw really like putrid viewership numbers, and everything, all the focus goes back to how are they going to buy TV time or get a TV deal. But really, I think that's going to be the main thing that people scrutinize and watch. And even, this also, you talk about people mindlessly scrolling Twitter and looking for those clips and sharing those. LIV is not getting the engagement on social that the PGA Tour is, or even frankly, some of the big, I'll call them like golf entertainment brands get, which again speaks to like the need to have a product that people actually give a damn about, versus just doing something because they have the money to do it. So I don't know. It's going to be something that keeps getting scrutinized and keeps getting watched. But let's for a second talk buy and sell. Brooks getting a W on LIV this past week, or Ricky's hot start. We didn't talk about it, but Ricky Fowler had a heck of a showing this past week.
Yep. He led after 3 rounds of the ZOZO.
If you're going to buy one and sell the other, which are you buying and which are you selling?
I'm going to go with producer ball here. I'm buying Ricky Fowler.
Okay.
I think that's just tremendous for the tour. You know, a guy like Ricky Fowler who's kind of transcended golf in the last 10 years, you know, wearing the Puma outfits. And you see the kids at the events wearing the full orange Ricky Puma outfits. When he's around, it's generally just a better tour. You go look back when they had that secret meeting, and it was Tiger Woods and Ricky Fowler.
Yeah.
In the plane, getting off the plane together, getting in the car together. And so it's the tour, like I said, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the tour is a better place when Ricky Fowler's playing well.
You know, I wanted to play devil's advocate really badly, and I kept trying to think of a way that I could possibly frame Brooks' win this past week as a more important event for him as a professional than Fowler's performance over his first 3 starts, and I can't math it. Can't do it. So, I mean, and I think maybe some of the things that we did see on social made that more apparent. You know, some of the imagery that came out of that last LIV event, Brooks winning with basically nobody around, the event largely unattended, streamed, you know, by a few thousand people by comparison to a tour event that's being watched hundreds of thousands of times and seen hundreds of thousands, if not millions, more times through clips shared on social media. It's just, I mean, for Brooks, I'm not even sure what you gain other than a nice payday. Yeah,
Brooks after the event said it means this much to him. And as a guy that's said in the past that regular PGA Tour events don't matter to him, that he goes on autopilot, that he sleepwalks through 5 or 6 holes and only cares about the majors, and then he turns around and he says that this is more important than a major maybe. I don't know where we're going with this, Brooks, but
this is the same guy who said that golf tournaments should only be 12 holes long.
Right.
12 holes long. Like,
forget 54-hole tournament.
Forget 54 holes, forget all that. Like, golf round should only be 12 holes because he just can't keep his attention long enough.
Well, we got to talk about Joaquin Niemann before we get done with LIV. That's my favorite story out of the whole tournament.
You've been so jazzed up about this.
So
go ahead. Walk us through what happened. Maybe the one funny thing that came out of this past weekend.
So Joaquin Niemann blocks one, and I think it was on Friday, and he's out in the wasteland area, and his ball is next to a boulder, and so you can move in golf. You can move loose impediments like that don't, as long as your ball doesn't move. Yep. And you're not a hazard, so you're allowed to move that. So him and this caddy are trying to move this 2 ton weight boulder, and it makes me think of back to 1999 in the Waste Management Phoenix Open when Tiger Woods had the same exact scenario, and like probably 20 fans from the gallery came over, and the video is hysterical. I was watching it today on YouTube, and he moves they move the whole boulder 2 whole revolutions and get out of Tiger's swing. That would never happen on the LIV Tour, and it just sparked that funny memory in my mind.
Because there weren't 7 fans there to roll the rock away.
It's so funny, that video, because I think like 10 fans try to move the boulder, and there's just no way they can move it. It's like 10 more jump onto it, and they barely move it. That is a heavy freaking boulder. And it's young Tiger, too, and he's smiling away. And it's just a hysterical clip.
Like, how are we, going back to I'll say the both of those scenarios, it's hilarious. Loose impediment, giant boulder. Maybe the intent of the rule was not just because you can move it doesn't mean it's a loose impediment.
By letter of the law, you can though. Even the rules official was there saying you can move it.
Yeah, it's wild. Okay, so let's look forward. We're heading to a new week here, and maybe this probably will be the first week of the 2022-2023 campaign where we have a good, solid lineup on the PGA Tour. So the CJ Cup, hosted at Congaree Golf Club in South Carolina. We got Rory, JT, Rahm, Spieth, Scheffler all in the field. Got JT, his 200th start.
Yep.
Then we've got Ricky Fowler, man of the hour, man of the week, man of the month, his 300th start. So pretty big there. Also, if you're looking at the odds to maybe gamble a little bit this weekend, interesting. This is one of those weeks where I feel like the favorites are who you want to avoid. How do you feel about that?
I mean, one of the second favorite is my pick with John Rahm this week. But that's not a bad idea because there's just so many good players in this event. So I like where you're coming from with that.
And not only that, but how many of them have played since the playoffs in a traditional 4-round? I think there might be some rust for some of these guys.
Right.
We saw how Rory looked in the first playoff event when he took, what was that, like 2 weeks off or 3 weeks off before? He didn't eat a single vegetable for 10 days. These guys are, they're the greatest golfers on the planet, but good Lord, they also can get a little rusty at times too. Mm-hmm. So my pick for this weekend is Sam Burns. Nice little bit of we'll call him like a mid-card on the long shot odds, but he's a little bit, plus 2,800. Good early round bet.
It would be cool to see Rory play well, though, because I think if he gets solo second or better, he moves into first place in the world golf ranking.
Yep.
And that would be pretty cool to see.
That would be big.
He's played on real golf, so very well deserving of it. So
yeah.
I'll be rooting for Rory too to make that up that ground.
Okay. So the real reason why we're here, right? We're here to talk about this new video game. Mm-hmm. PGA Tour 2K23 released last week. We've both spent some time playing it. How do we feel? Have we returned to the glory days of golf gaming circa like 2005 to 2010 when the Tiger Woods EA series was just on fire?
Yes, I think so, because now we have playable pros, and I think that is the biggest thing. You have a guy like Tiger Woods in the event, and you have some of the other pros in the event. Michael Jordan, Steph Curry are all there. The gameplay, however, I mean, we can get into that, I suppose, but I think we are in a path where we're getting back to that, Tiger Woods games where they were incredible, maybe not to the point of where you can click X a million times to get the ball to do crazy things. You can't do that in this game, which is more realistic and a good thing overall, but the gameplay.
So before we spill any of that, I'm curious, if you're rating it out of 10, what are you giving this game? Before we get into the specifics of why we feel the way we feel about it, what's your score if you're scoring it out of 10?
7.5.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Okay. So
I purely like golf games, though, so maybe that's skewed a little bit.
I said 4.75.
Oh.
Yeah, not very good.
Ouch.
Not very favorable. Donated some time to it, but there are a lot of, I think there are some the more time I've spent with it, the more issues I've found with it that are almost make the game kind of annoying to play. So first, let's get into what you think are maybe the real trouble spots for the game. What are the biggest issues?
Oh, the biggest issue is the commentary, by far.
It's abysmal. It's bad. There's
been scenarios where I'm playing with my player, Nate Sharman, born and raised in Canada, which I love doing in every game. And you'll be 7 shots out of the lead, and you'll have like a 20-footer for par, and they'll say, if he makes this, he'll shoot up to the top of the leaderboard.
Oh, yeah.
No, not going to do that. So that's and that happens a lot of time. They replay a lot of the same ones. And to be fair, I was a guy who played a lot of 2K21. They're very similar.
Oh, yeah.
There's a few more that have been recorded, but most of them are the same.
Yeah.
So I think that's far and away the worst part for me. I was playing this morning, I turned the sound off. And I'm a guy who likes to play with the sound when I play video games.
Yeah.
And I think I was listening to a podcast this morning because I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, I think the announcers are pretty bad. And it's funny, one of the first things I noticed, because this was the first golf video game that I've played since probably the late 2000s, honestly. Mm-hmm. And when I picked it up and I played in that first event, I was dumbfounded at the fact that the people who the ghost players who you're playing against in these tournaments, they're using stock names and that sort of thing, right? The announcers still can't say their names.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible. That bothered me when I was a 15 to 17-year-old kid playing these games, And here we are, all of this, like, technology has come so far. These games have improved in so many different ways, because they have improved, and yet they haven't, like, fixed something like that. And like you said, the miscues of the announcers. So, like, you're getting, you're getting one-liners from announcers at, like, the wrong times.
Oh,
or
far the wrong times, yeah.
You've hit your tee shot, your T-ball is like rolling down the fairway, and the guy's still giving you the overview of the hole.
Yeah.
Like, okay, just shut up. Like, that wouldn't have happened. But I mean,
or you hit it down the middle of the fairway, and they said this one might roll into the rough.
Oh yeah, and it's just
dead.
No,
I just hit it 300 yards down the middle of the fairway.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting too, because the other thing that we have to talk about here is the same day that 2K23 dropped, EA announced their upcoming PGA title, which is going to drop next spring, and some of the issues that that I've seen and I've experienced playing 2K23 are actually, I think, going to be made worse by having a competing EA game. So, like, missing courses, missing majors, because EA has the rights to the majors, and they're going to be the majors are going to be in that version. You're going to have a weird hodgepodge of players. Like Jordan Spieth appears to be like the main, like, title, we want to call it, like, cover character or cover player for the EA version that's coming out in the spring. Are we just going to have an EA, like a PGA Tour, EA Sports PGA Tour game that doesn't have Tiger Woods in it?
Yeah, there's no way there's Tiger Woods going to be in it.
It's just going to be the dumbest thing ever.
Let me give you a twist, though. Do you think LIV players will be in it? Like Brooks Koepka, Cam Smith, Dustin Johnson?
If Tiger Woods isn't going to be in it, I kind
of hope so. You got to have a flagship, right?
I kind of hope so. Because you can't have, like, so Justin Thomas, Tiger Woods, you've got a lot of your core PGA Tour guys in the 2K version. If you're just going to have, like, the leftovers, basically the people who weren't included in 2K23 in the EA version, that's just going to be, like, it's going to be silly. It'll be silly.
Put Tom Kim in there.
Sure.
I want to play as Tom Kim.
I mean, downloadable content. Why can't that's another thing too, is like, with as far as the way these games are actually produced and packaged, everything is a download, or a lot of content is just downloaded after the fact. There's so much more that could have been done or could be done with these games, and just seems to not be done. Yeah. More courses. I understand there's some rights issues probably,
right?
But it's still, it's as far as the gameplay experience goes, it really starts to eat into it pretty quick, especially when you start to play, when you are going through, say, like the franchise dynasty, the my player experience, which I think is the offline mode that most are using. And you just start to run into these, like, oh, there's no Masters. Like, what? Imagine a golf right. calendar without the Masters or other majors. Or you're just playing these, like, fictional golf courses that don't exist. Like, right. You played that absolutely whack job of a golf course last night, and you were complaining nonstop about it.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But it's just,
you're
like,
right.
Yeah, I mean, so say this title is viewed as a success. EA drops their game next spring. Where does that leave golf gaming in the summer when they're probably priming for 2K24?
Right.
Especially if they're going to come out competing years. We're going to be in, like, a weird Call of Duty scenario where you got two different studios producing.
We'll be in the same kind of holding pattern. Yeah, exactly. Precisely. We'll play the same courses every year on PGA. We'll play all the TBC courses, and then we'll have to spend another $80 and get the EA brand to play all those Augusta and Key Island and US Amateur and stuff like that, which will be cool. But since they're competing, they're never going to be morphed into one, unfortunately, for the golf fan.
How do we feel about the swing? I think you and I have both complained a bit about how the swing mechanism works, how touchy it is.
Yeah,
and
a little touchy.
In terms of what they were trying to emulate, because you get what they were trying to emulate. They were trying to emulate how difficult the actual golf swing is.
And I think they did a good job of that with the right stick control. I haven't gotten into the 3-click yet. But the right stick control, I think they do a pretty good job. You just need to make sure that you're going to the range and calibrating it. every so often.
Yep.
And I know that sounds like extra work, but it will it will release some tension when you're out there playing your My Player and you're hitting duck hooks into oblivion. By going to the range and kind of mimicking that swing and hitting balls and calibrating your swing every once in a while, it will take a lot of strokes off your game. I think I remember telling you that when it was really kind of harping on you in the beginning, and it sure helped a lot, right?
It did. And it's ironic, too, because whether it's real life or video game, practicing does, in fact, help.
Yeah. Crazy thought, huh?
It's nuts. So, yeah, other than that pretty much wraps us up. I think it's going to be interesting because I want to come back to this video game element as we continue to play it a little further and get further into the My Player development, because there are certain things that I haven't been able to, like, I've been trying to figure out the touchiness of the swing. I don't agree so much with your take on they did a good job with it. I think they went a little too far to the touchy side with it.
It could be a little diabolical, especially in the bunker.
Yeah, it makes doing certain things, like certain basic things, very, very difficult. And I think just in terms of getting people to play and keep playing, man, the learning curve is tough, especially if you don't have a lot of time to dedicate to it.
Got to keep with it, though, because it's going to be fun. At the end of the day, when you start to get good at this game, I got to a point of that when the last one, and I love playing it, so.
Online play. That is the one.
Yeah, I'll get there eventually.
That's uncharted territory right now for me still. But
right, I'm working on my connection, my Wi-Fi connection too at this point. So once we get to that point,
stable internet first, then online play.
Stable internet, get a little bit better on the swing, and get to the online play.
All right, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram for more golf news and content. For Nate Sharman, I'm Josh Durso, and remember, whether it's down the middle or out of bounds, keep on swinging.